Are you about to start your career in consulting? Hi, my name is Heinrich. I'm an ex-McKinsey consultant. And so welcome to another coffee break here on Firm Learning. And in today's video, I will share with you 10 quick tips what you can do to start your career in consulting in the right way. The first is perception is reality. This is an old saying in consulting, and it speaks towards the misconception that many people have that if they just do a good job, if they just work hard, this is good enough to get good evaluations and get on the promotion fast track. And for sure, this is not wrong. This is a big component of that. But at the same time, you need to realize that as important as doing a good job is that other people have the perception that you are doing a good job. And this is what perception is reality is all about. In consulting firms, even more important than the project lead with whom you will work together on a daily basis for these promotion decisions is the partner, or are also the senior partners that you are interacting with. And here it's important to understand that these people you will only have very few touch points with. The partner you maybe will see 1 or 2 times every week. The senior partner maybe only every other week. So these people will form an opinion about you just based on very few touch points they will have with you throughout the course of the project. And you need to make sure that these touch points count, that you present yourself the right way, that you are shaping and managing the perceptions that these people will form about you. Next, there are no experts in business. As a junior, especially if you work for these large management consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain and the likes, you will very early on, maybe even already in the first weeks, interact with very senior clients. You will potentially even alone sit with senior leaders of your clients in a room, do interviews with them, do other types of conversations with them. And it's easy to get intimidated by their expertise, by their seniority, by the domain knowledge that these people of course have. And it often takes a little bit of time to then realize that these people indeed, while for sure they're capable and very smart, these people are not geniuses, right? So these people are not coming from a different universe that is impossible for you to reach. But these people very often just figure it out as they go as well. And it takes just a little bit of time to get this natural understanding, this pattern recognition, to then be able to also make decisions in rather uncomfortable situations. But then as soon as you understand this, this will give you the confidence to then interact with these people at eye level as well, which is what very quickly you need to do as a consultant. Next, managing upwards. It is important also as a junior to manage upwards. It is easy to think that you always need to say yes, right? So of course you want to perform, you want to give a good impression, but this does not mean that whenever someone approaches you with a task, with an ask, that you always need to say, yes, yes, I will do this until end of day and so on. Because otherwise you will put yourself in a very difficult position that sometimes you will just overburden yourself. You will overburden yourself with things yet you cannot reasonably work on at a high quality level. So it is important, if you realize this, to also speak up, to say, hey, I'm very happy to do this, but now I need to do a trade-off here. I can either do this or I can do that tonight. I cannot do both. Please help me prioritize. Please help me understand what the most important thing right now is. Manage upwards. And it's also very fair to say, hey, for me to perform well on such a project, I need to be able to maybe go to the gym in the evening every other day. Or maybe for me it is important that at every lunch I have a warm lunch, because this is just what I need to do a good job, right? So ask yourself, what are these 1, 2, 3 things that you really need to be able to perform at the best of your ability? And then it's very fair to also openly share this with your project lead. And then at least typically in most situations, the project lead will be very happy to also work with you on these topics. It might not always be possible every single day, but this is a fair expectation also on your end to at least voice if you know that this helps you to perform well. Next, handling ambiguity. Many people out there talk about the VUCA word. VUCA. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. And this is indeed the type of environment that very often you will face yourself in consulting projects. The The project is volatile. Things quickly change. What was true yesterday might not be true tomorrow anymore. It's uncertain. You do not know how things will evolve. Things are complex. There's lots of information that you need to digest and that you need to take into consideration to then make a decision. And it's ambiguous. You might get conflicting information from different people. You might interview one client and this client tells you one thing. Then you talk to a different client and this client tells you something else that contradicts the same view. And you need to steer through that. You need to be comfortable with this ambiguity. You need to be comfortable to operate in this VUCA world and learn to thrive in that. This is very important to figure out very quickly in your career. Next, learn to form an opinion on the topics that you are working on. You might not always be right, but it is important to train your critical thinking abilities in the way that you can digest all this information and then indeed form a fact-based, argument-based opinion on what the right thing to do is. And this will be expected from you early on. Also as a junior, you of course might not have the final responsibility. You might not have the responsibility for the full project, but you will quickly on be expected to lead a work stream, lead a distinct work package of the project that you need to shape. And the project you will expect from you that you do not only execute tasks that you are given, but that you can think critically about this work package and form valid, sound opinions on what should be done, what the recommendation should be, what the sensible next step is to move forward with the analyses, with the topics at hand. So learn this, make sure to form opinions on the topics that you are working on. Next, prepare the right way. Doing all of these things can be challenging, can be daunting as a junior, and I very much understand how that might be the case. At the same time, it is important that even on the first projects, you perform well. The first projects can very much determine the trajectory that you will have in a company. And in a recent video, I will link it somewhere above here, I also discussed the case of the lady who actually got terminated, got kicked out of a consulting firm after 6 months due to her subpar performance on the very first projects. And it is important to start your consulting career right. And this is exactly what we do in our firm learning mentoring programs, where we work with individuals to equip them with all the skills and capabilities to succeed in such an environment. And if this sounds of interest to you, we are offering free initial consultations where you can discuss your individual situation with an experienced professional from our team. All of them are ex-consultants as well. So if you want to do that, there's a link in the video description where you can sign up for such a free consultation. It would be our pleasure to work with you very soon. Next, add value in meetings. As a consultant, even a junior one, clients pay top dollar for you. They might pay 4-digit, maybe even multiple 4-digit daily fees for them to work with you. And so they rightfully expect value to be added by you. They expect impact from you. And one of the typical traps for young consultants is that they sit in longer meetings, sit in longer workshops for hours, but don't contribute at all. Don't add anything to the conversations. So it is important for you to think critically about how can you add in these meetings. I talked about these topics in other videos on my channel in the past as well. So make sure to have a role, have a clear task, have a clear topic that you're working on, a role that you are taking on in these meetings to indeed set yourself up for success in these types of interactions. Next, your colleagues are like you. Your colleagues are not geniuses. They are not superhumans. And I know that it is very quickly to think like this, also from my own experience. I remember my very first project I was part of, I was interacting with these other peers, right? So these other associates, which maybe had half a year or a year more experience already in the role than me. And to me, I felt absolutely intimidated. I felt this very big imposter syndrome that all these people, this is at least the perception that I had, were so much smarter than me, were so much experienced than me, so much more capable than me. And I thought I would never be able to get there. But what you very often underestimate is how quickly you can indeed develop in such a role in consulting if you just trust the process and embrace the experience. very likely if you're just half a year or a year in, your skill set, your capabilities will be a big leap forward compared to where you start. So this is important to understand, this is important to embrace. Likely a year down the line, if then someone else joins the company as a new joiner, that person will look up to you in the very same way. So trust the process. Yes, it is okay to be intimidated, but don't let that take away your ability to learn and to step up into the role the right way. Next, embrace the full experience and don't specialize too early. In my humble opinion, one of the main value adds for you personally from a consulting career is that in a short amount of time, you have the opportunity to work in many different industries or many different functional topics. And this is the big takeaway that you will get from your consulting career, to be comfortable in these situations, in these changing environments. So don't specialize too early in your career, but seek out these opportunities, the way how you interact with your staffing managers, the way how you choose new projects to join. Seek this opportunity to get exposure to many, many different situations. I appreciate this might be more challenging in smaller, more specialized firms or boutique firms, but even here there's often a range of projects that these companies are engaged in, and so make sure that you indeed experience this range to the best of your possibilities. And let's now also talk about first impressions. First impressions are very, very important. We talked early on about this idea of perception is reality. You want to make sure that people around you have the right perceptions about you. And the first impressions that you give on a project are very instrumental, are very decisive for this impression and this perception that people have about you. If you start on the wrong foot, if in the first weeks people have the impression that you are not really a rock star, right? That you are not really this high potential, this is often an issue. And then it takes you a long time. It is an insurmountable amount of work that you might need to put in to then change this impression over time. So make sure instead to give 200% from the start, to absolutely show you're 200% dedicated to help people understand that yes, you are indeed the right person for this role in this position. And if this is the perception you are able to establish early on, then after some weeks or months, it might even be possible for you to tone it down a little bit and then just be carried by this first impression that people had about you. Now I'd be interested to hear from you. What other tips do you have, especially the more experienced consultants out there, that you have that you'd like to share with more junior people? Feel free to share your insights in the comments. Trust me, we can all only learn from that. And if you took any value away from this video at all, please destroy the like button and hit subscribe to stay up to date on all the content. Big thanks to all the members of Firm Learning. Much appreciated for your support. My name is Heinrich. Looking forward to the next video.